You skip meals. You stay disciplined. You push through hunger and tell yourself that your body must be burning fat. That's the whole point of fasting, right? But what if I told you your body can still be storing fat while you're fasting? It sounds impossible, contradictory, almost unfair. Imagine someone who does everything right. They fast every day. They reduce calories. They follow the plan perfectly. And yet, their belly fat doesn't change. Sometimes it even feels like it's getting worse. From the outside, it doesn't make sense. No food coming in should mean fat going out. That's the logic most people believe. But inside the body, the story is very different. Because your body doesn't just respond to whether you're eating or not. It responds to signals. Signals that tell it whether to burn energy or protect it. And under certain conditions, fasting doesn't send a fat-burning signal. It sends a storage signal. Picture this. You're hours into a fast. Your stomach is empty. But internally, your body senses stress. It senses instability. It senses that something is off. And instead of releasing fat, it begins preparing to store it, holding on to energy for protection. So when you finally eat, your body doesn't say, "Great, let's burn this." It says, "Store this. We might need it." And this is the hidden mistake most people never realize they're making. It's not that fasting doesn't work. It's that the way you're doing it might be sending the exact opposite signal. So the real question is not, are you fasting? The real question is, what is your body being told to do while you're fasting? Before you start questioning your discipline or thinking that your body is somehow broken, understand this. What you're experiencing is not your fault. The idea that fasting automatically leads to fat loss has been repeated so often that it feels like a rule. But in reality, it's only part of a much bigger system. You've been told that if you eat less, your body will use stored fat. That if you fast long enough, the results will follow. And when those results don't come, it's easy to assume that you didn't try hard enough, that you need more discipline, more restriction, more effort. But that's not the missing piece. Think about how your body actually operates. It's not just reacting to calories. It's reacting to patterns, signals, and internal conditions. Your sleep, your stress levels, how often you eat, what you eat, even how you feel throughout the day. All of these factors shape the environment inside your body, and that environment determines how your body responds to fasting. So when someone fasts and loses fat, it's not just because they fasted. And when someone fasts and sees no change, or even feels like they're holding on to fat, it's not because fasting failed. It's because the signals inside their body are telling a different story. Imagine two people following the same fasting schedule. One feels calm, rested, stable. The other feels stressed, tired, and constantly pushing through. From the outside, they're doing the same thing. But internally, their bodies are receiving completely different instructions. One is being told, it's safe to use stored energy. The other is being told, hold on to everything. We might need it. So if you've been stuck, if you've been doing everything right and still not seeing the results you expected, it doesn't mean you failed. It means there's a hidden layer of the process that hasn't been explained to you yet. And once you see that layer, everything starts to make sense. For years, you've probably believed something that feels almost unquestionable. If you're not eating, your body must be burning fat. It sounds logical. It feels like a direct cause and effect. No incoming energy means your body has no choice but to use stored fat. But inside your body, that's not how the system actually works. Your body doesn't simply switch to fat because food is absent. It decides based on what it believes is safest. And that decision is not driven by calories alone. It's driven by signals. This is where the belief begins to break. Because your body can be in a fasted state and still behave as if it needs to conserve energy instead of releasing it. Imagine this scenario. You're fasting, your stomach is empty, and logically, fat burning should be happening. But at the same time, your body is receiving signals of stress, instability, or unpredictability. From its perspective, this is not a calm, controlled situation. It's a potential threat. And when your body senses a threat, it doesn't prioritize fat loss. It prioritizes survival. That means holding on to energy, not releasing it. That means becoming more efficient at storing fat when food does come in. That means slowing down processes that would normally help you burn fat. So instead of a smooth transition into fat burning, your body enters a protective mode. It reduces energy output, conserves resources, and prepares for uncertainty. This is why someone can fast consistently and still feel stuck. Not because fasting doesn't work, but because the internal signals are telling the body to protect, not release. And once you understand this, you realize something critical. Fasting does not automatically equal fat burning. It only creates the possibility for fat burning. And whether that possibility becomes reality depends entirely on the signals your body is receiving at that moment. Now you can start to see that something deeper is controlling this outcome. It's not just about whether you eat or don't eat. There are signals inside your body constantly deciding whether to release fat or hold on to it. And at the center of this decision are two powerful forces working together: cortisol and insulin. Cortisol is the signal of stress. It tells your body how urgent the situation is, whether things are stable or unpredictable. When cortisol rises, your body shifts into a protective state. It becomes cautious. It becomes conservative. It starts preparing for survival instead of optimization. And in that state, releasing fat is no longer the priority. Now imagine you're fasting. Energy is not coming in. But at the same time, cortisol is elevated because of poor sleep, mental stress, over-restriction, or simply pushing too hard. Your body interprets this as instability. And when your body senses instability, it doesn't want to let go of its energy reserves. It wants to protect them. This is where insulin enters the picture. Insulin acts like a lock on your fat stores. When insulin is high, fat is locked away. When it's low, the door begins to open. But here's the hidden interaction. Cortisol can interfere with how your body uses insulin and glucose. It can raise blood sugar levels even when you're not eating, forcing your body to manage that energy differently. So now you have a situation where cortisol is telling your body, "We're under stress. Hold on to energy." And insulin is responding to fluctuations, reinforcing that signal. The result? Even while fasting, your body becomes more resistant to releasing fat. And when you finally eat, especially after a stressful fast, your body is even more likely to store that incoming energy because it has been primed to protect, not release. This is the hidden system most people never see. Cortisol becomes the storage signal, constantly telling your body to hold on. And insulin becomes the lock, controlling whether fat can be accessed at all. So when these two are out of balance, the entire outcome of your fast changes. Not because fasting failed, but because the signals guiding your body were pointing in the opposite direction. But once you understand this system, something changes. Because what felt confusing before now starts to follow a pattern. Your body is not randomly storing fat. It's following a sequence, a timeline that responds to the signals it receives throughout your fast. Imagine your day starting with your last meal. As you finish eating, insulin rises to process the incoming nutrients. Your body is in storage mode, organizing energy, storing what it doesn't immediately need. This is normal. This is expected. As time passes and you stop eating, insulin begins to drop. Your body shifts away from storage and starts preparing to use internal energy. Glycogen becomes the primary source, stored glucose being released slowly to maintain balance. Up to this point, everything is still stable. Your body is not stressed. It's simply transitioning. But now, as you move deeper into the fast, energy demand continues while glycogen levels begin to fall. This is the point where your body needs to decide what to do next. If your internal environment is calm, if sleep was sufficient, stress is manageable, and signals are stable, your body moves in a clear direction. Insulin stays low, cortisol remains balanced, and fat begins to be released through lipolysis. Fatty acids enter the bloodstream, and your body gradually shifts into a more efficient fat-burning state. But if that same moment occurs under stress, the timeline changes. Cortisol rises, sending a signal that energy might be needed quickly. Your body becomes cautious. Instead of smoothly transitioning into fat burning, it hesitates. It holds on to its reserves. It prepares for unpredictability. And here's where the paradox appears. Even though you're fasting, even though insulin may be relatively low, the presence of high cortisol changes the entire context. Your body is no longer in a state of safe adaptation. It's in a state of protection. So when the fast ends, when you finally eat, your body doesn't respond the way you expect. Instead of easily using the incoming energy, it stores it more aggressively. Because from its perspective, the previous hours signaled stress, not stability. So across this timeline, two completely different outcomes can emerge. One where fasting leads naturally into fat burning, smooth energy, and gradual release of stored fat. And another where fasting creates internal stress, leading to conservation, hesitation, and increased fat storage when food returns. And the difference between these two paths doesn't come from the fast itself. It comes from the signals your body receives during it. And right in the middle of this timeline, there is a moment where that decision is made. And that moment, the one where everything changes, doesn't appear on a clock. It's not hour 14 or 16 or 18. It happens when your body reaches a point where it must choose how to respond to the conditions you've created. Glycogen is low. Insulin has dropped. Energy is needed. Now your body looks at the environment it's in and asks one question: is this safe or is this stressful? If the answer is safe, everything flows naturally. Fat begins to be released. Energy stabilizes. Hunger becomes quieter, less urgent. Your body shifts into a mode that feels sustainable, almost effortless. But if the answer is stressful, the reaction is completely different. Cortisol remains elevated. Your body becomes protective. It slows down fat release. It prepares to conserve energy. And when you eat again, it stores more aggressively because it believes it needs to. That's the hidden switch. Not time, but interpretation. And the good news is, you can influence that interpretation with small, simple changes. Imagine going into your fast after a night of good sleep. Your baseline cortisol is lower, your body is calmer, and the signals it receives are more stable. Now, when you reach that decision point, the environment feels safe. Imagine reducing the intensity of your fasting instead of pushing it to extremes. When your body doesn't feel deprived, it doesn't react defensively. It adapts. Imagine timing your last meal earlier, giving your body more time to transition smoothly instead of forcing it into a stressful shift late at night. Even small habits like light movement, a walk, gentle activity, can guide your body to use stored energy without triggering a stress response. These changes don't feel dramatic, but internally, they shift the entire direction of the process. They tell your body, this is controlled, this is safe. And when your body feels safe, it stops holding on and finally starts letting go. And this is where most people unknowingly repeat the same cycle. Doing more, trying harder, but still getting the same result. Not because they lack effort, but because a few hidden mistakes keep sending the wrong signals over and over again. One of the biggest mistakes is fasting under constant stress. You may not notice it at first. You're busy, focused, pushing through your day, but internally, cortisol is elevated. And when you combine that with fasting, your body doesn't interpret it as a controlled, healthy process. It interprets it as pressure. Another mistake is poor sleep. Even one night of low-quality sleep can shift your hormonal balance. Your body starts the next day already in a more reactive state. So when you fast, instead of smoothly adapting, it becomes cautious. It holds on to energy. Then there's the tendency to push too far. Longer fasts, fewer calories, more restriction, believing that more effort will force better results. But your body doesn't respond well to force. It responds to signals. And extreme restriction often sends a signal of instability, triggering protection instead of release. Meal timing plays a role too. Late eating, especially close to sleep, keeps insulin elevated and disrupts your natural rhythm. So when your fast begins, your body is already starting from a less stable state. And the most subtle mistake of all is focusing only on what you do, instead of how your body interprets it. Because your body is always responding. It's always reading signals, and those signals determine whether fat is released or stored. So if you've been fasting and not seeing results, it doesn't mean your body is broken. It means your body has been trying to protect you based on the signals it's receiving. And once you understand that, everything changes. You stop chasing longer fasts. You stop forcing results. You begin to create the conditions where your body feels safe enough to let go of stored fat. If this changed the way you see fasting, share it with someone who's been doing everything right, but still feels stuck. And if you want to go deeper into how your body really works, how hormones, timing, and hidden internal processes control fat loss, stay connected. Because once you understand the signals, you're no longer fighting your body. You're finally working with it.